Hi, this is Finley, and we're listening to the Rocket Bro podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Watch It Bro podcast. I am Tristan.
And I am Fozzie Bear.
Yeah, you should have been here from before we started.
And I am Marshall.
And today we are not going to do impressions of Muppets. We are going to be talking about the 1984 film Cloak and Dagger.
A film that I had never heard of or never ever seen. Or vice versa.
A film that I too had never seen or heard of. And actually, I believe in the last episode, Marshall, you asked if there was anybody in this that any actors that I was familiar with, and I said no, which throws me under the bus that I have never seen E.T.
Is that the kid from E.T.?
That's the kid from E.T.
Huh.
Apparently, you haven't seen E.T. very much either.
I've seen E.T. I own it. It's right there. But yeah, not one of my favorite movies growing up.
Me either. I never saw it.
Elliot.
I'm just gonna go for the specs of this movie.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Let's start. We could laugh here all day. This movie was directed by Richard Franklin. The story was based on The Boy Cried Murder by Cornell Woolrich, and the adaptation story was written by Tom Holland, not our current Spider-Man.
No, he would not have been born by the time when this came out.
No. Our starring cast is, as previously mentioned, Henry Thomas, or Elliot from E.T., which apparently was lost on both Marshall and myself.
I was watching the movie, looking at this kid, like, he seems familiar, but I don't think he's been in anything, and I didn't bother to look him up to see what else he'd been in.
It took me two-thirds of the movie at least before I was like, that's the E.T. kid. And Rachel's like, yeah, you didn't piece that together when there was a poster of E.T. on the wall? And I was like, hey, E.T. poster. And I'm like, nope, didn't get there at all. Spoilers. There's a nod to E.T.
poster?
Yep. Continuing our starring cast, we have Dabney Coleman, who I didn't look up. And third on our starring cast, and rounding out our starring cast, according to the Wikipedia, not sponsored, is Michael Murphy.
Oh, yeah, man, we did our due diligence on this one.
We sure did. This movie was released August 10th, 1984, 2 years before I was born, and it raked in a whopping $9.7 million at the box office.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the specs I got for this. I do have some fun facts going in, so we'll discuss that as we get into further into the movie. If Marshall doesn't get too bored talking with me.
I never get bored with you.
He's just preoccupied right now.
I was checking something out.
So we start with the Universal logo, because Marshall loves that Universal logo.
I do.
And then we go pretty quickly into some opening credits, and we get the movie title in almost a Dungeons and Dragons fantasy-esque styling.
Yes, we do. It was a nice little nod to it, and I'll mention something. There, the Cloak and Dagger, the name of the movie, is a game and stuff in the movie, and they call it C&D at one point, like D&D.
Oh, I didn't catch. I think I did catch that actually. Well, because it seems like the Cloak and Dagger was originally a tabletop game like D&D that turned into an arcade game, and then later came out for the Atari 5200.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, or at least the Cloak and Dagger brand has several iterations. Whether it's a books tabletop game, and it's got a lot of things going for it. There is a tabletop game with dice like D&D, as well as the video game on the Atari 5200.
Right. But getting into it, we open with a couple of guards standing guard in front of a big building.
Yes, and it actually kind of felt a little The Man Who Knew Too Little.
You know, it did actually, because I did not piece it together coming into this. that like my last pick was also a spy adventure, and this one's a spy adventure. Like, yeah, it was lost on me.
But this guy is a much better spy because he knows what's going on.
Yes, yes, he is. Um, but yeah, so we get the guards like change shifts, and then he hears a helicopter and starts like wandering away from his post, which not a great security guard. And then we get I'm just gonna name the character now, Jack Flack, who I called Jack Black for like the first quarter of the movie. I'm like, Jack Black, awesome. I'm gonna
It
like this.
it took me a couple listens. I'm like, is he saying Jack Black? Do we have a?
Clearly wasn't a nod to Jack Black because Jack Black was just getting started.
Mhm.
But anyway, Jack Flack, he parachutes in all America style with the American flag parachute and takes out the first guard.
My first thought was, well, that's subtle.
And then he goes back to the guys. It's great. And then he like pushes a button and it just goes whoop right into his bag.
Very spy.
Very
In,
007.
in that aspect, not a halftime paraglider show at a football game.
No. So Jack Flack takes post and mimics the guard that he has just taken out. He's talking, I believe it's Russian,
Yes, it's Russian.
to the other guard who's checking up on his post. Raises suspicion, spits a poison dart out of a cigarette into the guy's neck. Awesome. Didn't
Yep.
see that coming.
No, I didn't. That did not see that coming either. And just watching, like, what's he gonna do? And also, honestly that little bit got me intrigued right away with what was going on.
Yeah, no, it was great. And then important people roll up with a
Mhm.
briefcase. And it's a lady and two of her guards, and one of the guys handcuffs himself to it. And they start going in, and then Jack Flack, I mean, he makes his move.
Yeah, I guess this is like a consulate or something. It's a fancy place that they're at. But yeah, Jack Flack makes his move with his wristwatch saw.
Right. Gets the brief.
Yeah, because he grabs the briefcase handle, the saw cuts the handcuffs, and then he
Right. Then he
uses
uses
it
his
as a
hat.
weapon.
Right. And then he uses his hat when the lady pulls out a gun. She shoots his hat. It ricochets the bullet back, hits her in the chest. She dies.
Yeah.
He lays her down and like positions her kind of.
Yeah, and the kick he does to the big guy with the sword too, and he goes ah, he stabs himself with the sword.
Oh yeah. This part had me a little bit like, we're treading on the ridiculous.
I mean, it was entertaining and ridiculous. That's why it kind of reminded me of The Man Who Knew Too Little, because it was just over the top spy stuff.
Yeah. But it was fun.
It was fun.
And then Jack Flack makes his escape, and he looks like it's gonna get away. And then the wall comes down, and he's blocked off. And all of a sudden, two gigantic D20s come rolling at him.
They're D12s.
D12s. What did I say?
D20s.
D12s.
Yep.
Come rolling at him.
It legally distinct from Dungeons and Dragons, which has the D20 as its main.
Right. Maybe that's what I was thinking was they meant D20s. They just couldn't do it.
Right.
And it reveals that they are playing a tabletop game. And so you have three of our main characters right now. You have Davy and Kim, who are playing. And Kim is not happy with how good Jack Flack is or how well Davy appears to be rolling.
Correct.
And
no, she is a little miffed because it seems like, well, she says it, that Jack Flack always wins.
Yeah, that's pretty much the state of it. And then Davy is like asks Morris, who I thought was either their dad or their older brother, but kind of just turns out to be a guy who hangs out with kids.
He's the guy that owns the I guess it's a game shop because he sells the Atari 5200 games. He sells board games and things like it. It's a nerd shop basically, and he's the owner of it. And these kids are his friends and customers basically.
Yeah. And fun fact, I didn't get the name of his game shop, but his game shop is based on a game shop in Texas that is still operating today.
Oh, that's cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, this takes place in Texas.
It does. But they ask Morris to continue. Morris is like, "No, I want to get back to my game. We're gonna put a pin in the campaign for tonight." And did you happen to know? Do you know what game he's playing? Because it does not look fun.
I do not know what he was playing. I don't know if he was coding something or trying to figure something out or
He
what.
might
But
he might be making a game. You're right. I didn't think that.
yeah.
Um, but if you look behind him, you will see Jack Flack on a arcade tower
Okay.
of the Cloak and Dagger arcade game.
Very cool.
Fun fact:
Yes,
Cloak and Dagger is a real game,
it is.
and all the gameplay that we see in the movie is from the arcade game because production of the 5200 model home model of the game was not complete
Yes.
yet at the time of this movie.
So
But then during this is when the video game, I don't want to say the video game apocalypse, but like when everyone
the
when everyone got super mad at ET and buried a whole bunch of copies and video games almost went extinct.
yeah, the video game uh, burst basically there because Atari was doing gangbusters and then it just kind of crashed. Video game crash. That's what it was.
Yeah, the
So
video
they
game crash happened.
yep, they didn't get the cartridges out for the movie in time and they were using fake cartridges in the game.
Right, they were other games with the label slapped over the top.
Yep.
And Cloak and Dagger never actually ended up getting made for the Atari 5200.
Yep, and the port never happened.
Nope. There were only a select few arcade console or arcade towers with it.
Hmm.
And you'll notice throughout the movie they called it a tape.
They did, and not a cartridge.
Not a couple times towards the end of the movie they call it a cartridge. But they did that because video games were still in their infancy
Hmm.
and they thought it would be more the audience would understand it better if it was referred to as a tape as opposed to a cartridge. They thought it would be lost on the audience calling it a cartridge.
That's interesting.
It
Yeah,
is.
I mean, because it wasn't popular. Not, I mean, it was insanely popular, but um,
Still a very niche market at the time.
yeah, because the 5200 was the next big Atari system that was coming out at the time, and it had just come out. Um,
And you have the
but
2600, right?
I do have a 2600. Yep, I do not have a
What-
5200 at the moment, but it's on my list.
Okay, and the Atari 2600 was the first one, right? Because it didn't go 26, 52, and then 78.
Yeah, I believe that's how they went.
Okay. So anyway, getting back to our story, the kids are bored, want something to do. Morris is like, "Hey, I got a mission for you guys. Why don't you go to?" And I forget the name of this building. I didn't write it down.
I believe I don't remember the name of the building, but it was Big Tech Games.
To go to Big Tech Games in the building downtown. It's on the 7th floor, and go get him some manuals and some Twinkies.
Yeah.
And Kim finds his new walkie-talkies, and they ask if they could take them, and so he sends them off with the walkie-talkies and like 50 cents for some Twinkies because Twinkies were cheap back then. And oh, the days when you could send a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old just out on the
Yeah.
bus by themselves.
He's like, I want you to go downtown. Okay.
You guys got your bus passes, right? Yep. Like, what? Oh, yeah, and we see that Henry, it's the actor's name, Davy, because Jack Flack says, never go without your gun loaded.
Jack
He
Flack.
Yeah. What did I say?
Black.
Might have. It's
But
too
yes,
close.
he loads
He
his
feel-
pistol.
With fake blood. And
Yeah,
that is a real looking pistol.
little squirt gun we filled with monster blood. That's what it was called.
Yep. And his assignment is to get the manuals, get the Twinkies, and don't be seen by anybody.
Yes, this kid is really into spy stuff.
Right. So-
He's going through his backpack. He's like, I got my grenade, and he pulls out his baseball, softball actually, because it's
Softball.
It's huge.
It's a soft, yeah.
And then he's got the walkie-talkies, and he's all gung ho. And Kim's like, I don't really want to go. You're not going to embarrass me, are you? He's like, no, I'm
Kim's-
not going to be embarrassing.
Yeah. And so we cut to them getting to the building, and Davy walks through the door, as seen immediately and pulls out his gun. And I turned to Rachel at this point and I go, the 80s where you could just walk into a corporate building with a gun out in the open. And some security guard just watches you and then offers to help you.
It's like, what's doing?
I mean, Davey, he spotted immediately.
Yeah, he's trying to be all sneaky and go from column to column to pillar to stay low, but is the security guard has a bead on him the whole time and just watches him run through the lobby.
Yeah. And so they get to the elevators and he sends Kim up the elevator and he's gonna take the stairs. But while we're waiting for the elevator, there's two men also waiting for the elevator, and Davey notices that one of them has a gun.
Yep. And he does not think it's a good idea for Kim to get on the elevator with those men.
Right, so he gives her a grenade, which she throws back at him.
Yes.
And by grenade, I mean it's the softball.
Right. But yeah, he sees the gun, and then they can still go up to 7.
Yeah. She has no problem getting on the elevator with two grown men with a gun.
Well, she gets on the next elevator.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, no, don't get on that one. And then the next one shows up, like, okay, we can go down.
Right, and so David takes the stairs, and he's playing in the stairwell.
Yep.
And Jack Black meets him in the stairwell. They start chatting.
Yep. This is his imaginary friend.
Yep. And the windows on the building across the street are very, very reflective because Davy sees himself and then he looks up and sees the reflection clear as day.
Yeah, it's
So
like
clear that I thought it
like
was
the
taking
mirrors.
place. It's almost like it was a mirror, yeah. Anyway, he sees the two guys from earlier in front of the elevator beat up a scientist-looking guy, and then the scientist guy takes an Atari game and runs.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to watch that because he's going up a couple flights. It's like that's weird that there's mirrors on the side of that building, and then the scuffle. I'm like, is that above him? Is that in the building across the way that he's seeing? Are they gonna look out the window and see him? What's going on? And then the door upstairs opens and the scientist walks out. It's like, oh, okay. That
And
is
then
very reflective windows.
Yes, it is. And then he hands the cartridge tape
Yep.
to Davy and says, "Whatever you do, do not let these guys get their hands on it. Run, kid." And then they come through the door and they shoot the scientist, and the scientist falls over the railing. And oh my goodness, could they have done worse with the visual effect of the scientist falling all the way down the stairwell?
I'm sure they could have, but it was the 80s. It wasn't too bad. It was early 80s too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like that. But
Ooh.
before he gets shot, and as he gives him the cartridge, he gives him a number too. 1,390 something thousand. I don't remember the exact number, but he says this number to him, and then he stands up and gets shot and falls down.
Right. And then they shoot the kid or shoot at the kid.
Yeah, they just they want their
They're
cartridge, so
sloppy.
they just open fire at him.
And that's when he decides to run.
He's like, "Oh shoot!"
No kidding. So he takes off. And he makes it all the way to the bottom of the stairwell.
Yep.
Comes out and starts yelling for a cop and says there's been a murder.
Yep.
And they go back into the stairwell with the cop, but it's all cleaned up.
Yeah, and people believe the kid right away too.
Right. No, they don't question at all. I just saw someone get murdered. Oh my gosh. Lock down the building. This cop is all for it.
Right. He's like, lock down the building, call the police. The security guard's got this right now. What's going on? And
They cleaned up that scientist guy real quick.
yeah,
How do you supposed to do that? Because they shot him and then he fell 7 stories.
they followed the kid down the stairs, scooped out the body, and ran.
I guess. Now, while this is going on, I failed to mention that Kim is actually completing the mission and gets the manuals for Morris and does not get Twinkies. We do not see her get Twinkies.
No, but she is shown where the vending machines are at the end of the hall. She's like, they're down that way.
Yep.
And she tells Davy that the radio talk is kind of embarrassment she was
afraid
hoping
of.
to. Yeah, but she's done her job.
Yeah, and Davy's the one with the money, so he's the one that would buy the Twinkies, and he
Mhm.
never makes it upstairs.
He does not.
And so we're back in the stairwell. There's another scientist-looking guy. We'll name the character now. His name is Rice. All we know him as.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets questioned a little bit and doesn't really come up with anything. Everyone kind of parts. Well, the security guard is like, "Hey kid, you're coming with me."
Yeah.
We'll get to the bottom of this. And after they leave the stairwell, we see that Rice actually has the softball with
Yes.
Davy's information on it.
Yeah.
Dave
Yeah.
Osborne.
The security guard's like, "You're in trouble." The cops are pissed, and it's like, why did you call them right away? But
Yeah, I don't know. So we cut to Davy getting dropped off at home
yes.
by a cop, different cop.
Hmm.
And his dad answers the door. Dad's not happy.
No, but this is where we see that his dad is Jack Flack. Well, his imaginary friend Jack Flack looks like his dad.
And this is not where I put that together. I'll let you know.
Okay.
And the cop explains to Dad what happened, and Dad's not happy. Dad explains that Davy recently lost his mother, and they're having trouble coping with it. And the cop, I guess, decides to offer some hallmark sense of reassurance that if they were at war, he'd want Davy on his side.
Yeah, because he didn't give. So apparently he was in the police station all day because they said that morning is when the hoopla at the building took place, and Davy wasn't giving up any information. He was tight-lipped, and the only reason they found out who he was because Kim gave him up.
Oh. Now, when this movie was first pitched to me by my lovely wife, she said that she wasn't sure how the language was going to be because she had only ever watched the TV version because her dad had recorded it off of TV
Okay.
and had it on a VHS tape, which she would watch from there. In my stupid brain, that translated to, this is a made-for-TV movie. Not a movie that was released in theaters. So the fact that in this kind of intro part, the acting is a little bit stiff,
Yeah.
it kind of put me off at first, and I was like, "Oh boy, is it going to be like this for the rest of the movie?" Because the dad's a little bit not great.
At this point.
It's kind of all Leave It to Beaver at this point.
Yeah, he's much better at as the Jack Flack character.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the little bit more. I guess he said TV acting, like Leave It to Beaver, is to show the differences between the two.
That could be
a bit more.
Have them both kind of be a little exaggerated to show the contrast.
Yeah.
That could be. But we cut upstairs. Davy's playing war. Davy's got quite the imagination.
He does.
Dad asks him what happened that day. Davy tells him. Dad doesn't believe him. Davy's mad that Dad doesn't believe him. And they talk about their mom a little bit and how if Mom was still there, Mom would believe him.
Yep.
But Dad is like anti kids playing.
That was most dads in media in the 80s, or a lot of dads media in the 80s.
But it's like, Davy, you're 10 years old. It's time to grow up. Like, what?
He just lost his mom. I mean, with the never-ending story too, his mom just died. Like, you're 10 now. Grow up. She's not coming back. Go to school.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I've never heard it summed up quite like that before, but yeah, let's go with it. But anyway, somehow Davy convinces his dad to let him play the Cloak and Dagger game.
Yeah. He's like, look, he even gave me the guy that died gave me this cartridge. There's something special on it. And his dad's like, fine, I'll humor you.
Davy's like, a man died for this, Dad, and he's like, yeah, what do you do?
He's like, okay, but I'm gonna make an appointment with the therapist tomorrow.
Right. You play this now because you're getting help tomorrow.
Yeah.
So he starts playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
explaining a little bit to his dad about what's going on and what to do, and tells his dad, well, maybe you got to get to a certain level, and then his dad loses it and like turns the game off and is like, go to bed.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm frustrated. I don't know it.
I don't care. And then he takes like all of his board games and like leaves the room.
It's like, no more games for you. Scoops them all up. He's clearly a man who's lost and doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
He's like, I lost my wife. I think my kid's insane, and he's not dealing with everything well, and I don't know what to do. You just sleep. I'm taking these.
I'm taking these. Keep your TV, your Atari, and your Cloak and Dagger game. That's probably the thing that you were gonna stay up late and play with anyway.
Yeah. You can't have the board games though, and you're going to the therapist tomorrow.
Yeah. Then the phone rings. It's clearly late at night. It's clearly that this. I mean, the guy and Davey, can you answer the phone? Sure. Davey answers the phone. The guy's like, "Is this David Osborne?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, guy." And the guy's like, "Good." And he goes, "Dad, it's the guys." And Dad runs over and picks up the phone and goes, "Hello." They hung up.
Yeah, because
Probably just the wrong.
you can hear the click too when he says hello. It's like they
Yeah.
waited. Like, what's this kid gonna do? Oh, that's his dad. Click.
Yeah. Well, then he's like, "What did he say?" He goes, "He just asked who I was." And Dad's like, "Well, it's probably a wrong number." And I'm going, "They first and last named this kid."
Yeah, but the dad thinks he's losing a little bit.
Sure. Anyway, Davey's like, "I ain't sleeping by myself. Can I sleep in your room?" And Dad lets him.
Yeah, he's like, he warms up pretty quick. He's like, all right, come on. Your mom
Yeah.
did just die. Get in here.
I won't listen to you about your imaginary spy stuff. Can I sleep in my room? That's okay. Anyway, we cut to the next day, and Dad's leaving for work, and Davey's like, "Where are you going?" What?
They know who I am. They know where I live. Where are you going?
Yeah, they're waiting for you to leave so they can come get me. And
He's like, I made that appointment with the therapist.
yeah, I have to work a double shift. I made the appointment with the therapist. Just stay out of trouble.
Yeah,
Like,
basically, you're 10 years old. You're old enough to stay home by yourself.
I know. It's like a 10-year-old kid can stay home alone. Awesome. If only.
The 80s
Ma-
were a different time.
They were. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a few hours probably. Like going to the store, leave a 10-year-old home alone. I mean, not to spoil the movie, but like, Dad's gone all day.
He's gone all day. We really, I mean, we really don't check in with Dad again until around 11 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it gets spoilers. I'm assuming you've seen this movie, found it somewhere, and watched it.
Yeah, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie and listen to it, you should watch the movie first.
You should. So yeah, he walkie-talkies Kim and says, "Hey, Kim, come over." And Mom's listening because Kim's eating her breakfast. The mom's like, "Tell him you call him back." And then they have a little bit of like girl talk, I guess.
Yeah,
Bonding.
she's like, is he always like that? It's like, yeah, but he's the only boy that's not stupid.
Boring. She said boring.
Same thing.
Ah, no.
And the mom's like, what's his dad like? She's like, he's not your type.
pretty pretty pointed for an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Like, how do you know what my type is?
And yes, I'm reminded that the 80s had very unfortunate hair.
But
So we
yeah,
cut back to Davy.
Yeah, Kim says, I gotta go eat. I'll call you later.
Pretty much, that's the gist of it. And then we cut back to Davy and the bad guys.
Bad guys are waiting for Dad to leave.
We're waiting for Dad to leave. They chuck a softball through the living room window. Davy makes a break, and then he like starts grabbing because it's rice.
Well, they start by ringing the doorbell, knocking at the door, and Davy tries to look out the window to see. And that's when his softball comes flying through the window, and then his hand.
Yeah, and then he runs to the back door, And
Yeah,
that's where Mr. Trigger's standing.
yeah, the big guy with the mustache.
Who, Mr. Trigger? I don't know. He looked like Mr. Trigger to me.
Little bit,
It's
yeah.
not.
But yeah, he's the bad guys are here and they're not taking it easy on the kid.
No, but what the mustache guy barbarians himself just through the door.
Yeah.
and then so he runs and then
He stops to let
opens
his
the
partner in.
stops to open the front door for the guy from Chips, which it's not him either.
No, and Davey's now upstairs in his room and he puts his nightstand in front of the door.
'Cause that
Which
helps.
which this part was great because the big guy just punches a hole through the door like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. He then reaches in and unlock and opens the door from the inside, and then
Which
just
there's no lock on the door.
there's not. He just put a little table in front of it. I'm like, why is he reaching through the door to open?
And also, worst spies ever. I like you're trying to like get this kid to like cooperate with you, so let's scare the crap out of him real good.
I mean, this this is the barbarian and the fighter going to do a stealth mission.
the the orc barbarian, the dwarf fighter, and the, the spellcaster that was at the bottom of his class,
Yeah.
the wizard that like that got the
Oh.
participation diploma.
Oh. But Davey's out
The-
the window.
Yeah. None of the like clearly the dad's gonna come home and be like, huh, somebody kidnapped my son. Someone broke into my house and took my boy.
Yeah.
I better call the therapist.
Better call a therapist. Davey's really messed the house up to prove that he's not insane.
So we cut to Davy going to Morris. And Morris doesn't quite believe him either, but Morris is easier to convince than Dad was. And so
Yeah. It breaks down to like, come on, Morris. He's like, okay, let's see what this thing is.
all right, I'll open it up. So he takes the one screw out of the back,
Yep.
and then clearly someone who doesn't know much about video games said, say some technical jargon.
He's like, look, there's an extra chip in here. That shouldn't be here.
This guy should have really knew what he was doing. Look at those connections.
It's soldered really well.
Sure, he must work on miniatures. I mean, all could have been solved with Morris being like, "It's not supposed to be there." Yeah, looks like there's something, something else besides a game in here. Let's see what it is.
I mean, that's
Anyway,
what they do.
right, but it's all, oh, look at these connections. Like, no, stop it.
He's impressed with the soldering work.
Extremely. So Morris plugs in and he's like, "Oh, well, I gotta play this to figure out what's going on."
And Davey lets him know about the number sequence that the
Right.
scientist told him.
Yeah, and so then Morris puts together that that's probably the score he has to get to unlock the
Yeah.
hidden information, which makes sense. Spoilers. So Davey reaches out to Kim, and Kim's like, "Where are you?" Or no, Kim's like, "Davey, where are you?" Davey's like, "I'm over with Morris. Where are you?" And Kim's like, "Your house. Remember, you told me to come over." And he's like, "The bad guys are there. Get out."
And then the bad guys on the radio are like, we got her.
What were they just waiting at his house for him to return?
I guess.
Made themselves at home, had a sandwich. I don't know.
Drinks his dad's beer. But yeah, they're like, we've got something
What?
of yours, you've got something of ours, let's trade.
Yep. So
Uh,
Davey's getting ready to leave. Jack Flack pops up and he's like, "Hey, you know what you should do? You should never play by the bad guys' rules." And he steals a copy of Cloak and Dagger from Morris to take to the bad guys at the garden.
Yes, necessary acquisition to complete the mission.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack Flack's like, don't do what they say. Don't give it to them. Here, steal this.
So we cut to the garden. Ish.
Yes, the Japanese gardens.
The Japanese gardens. And Rice and Davy meet face to face and start their negotiation. And I'm like, this kid has some guts.
Yeah,
He's mouthy. He doesn't like.
he's like, just go for it, right?
He's acting like he's got the upper hand.
Right. Well, he thinks he does because he has the cartridge, which
Right.
he mentions later too.
So they do their little back and forth.
Yeah, they do their little back and forth.
Okay, you looked confused.
No, I was just waiting for you to go to the next part where Rice nods up the hill.
Yeah, well, first Davy's like, "Oh, we," holds the cartridge over the water and is like, "Oh, I wouldn't come any closer. We wouldn't want, me to wouldn't want to drop anything." And Rice kind of looks up at the hill and nods, and they hold.
They pick
like,
up Kim and just read.
They pick up Kim and hold it over, and she's over it. Like she's not even scared. She's just like, "Davy, come on."
Yeah.
And Rice is like, "We wouldn't want to be dropping things, would we?" And he goes, "Ah, that's a good point." So they eventually make the switch. And like, can I just mention right now how weird and kind of unsettling it is how willing these grown men are to kill 8-year-old kids?
They've got their mission. These are they're bad guys. They're not willing to pull. They're not pulling punches. They got their thing to do, and they don't care who gets in the way.
Right. So anyway, they make the swap ish. And then Rice tries to grab him because he knows too much, I guess.
Yeah. Rice tries to go back on it
And then Davy pulls out his pistol
and shoots
and that
blood in his eye.
shoots blood in his face. And then they run. And then Rice turns over the cartridge and goes, "Oh, it's the wrong one. Get him." And so they all start running after this kid. These kids, Davy and Kim, jump on the bus, and that makes their escape.
Yeah,
But
the other
we
two
see-
guys are going after them. What were their names?
I don't remember. I didn't write it down. Rice, I think Rice tells one of them to go get the van, and so we eventually see their blue van chasing the bus.
Haverman and Alvarez.
Armin and Alvarez,
Haverman and Alvarez.
cool. Got
Those
it.
are
I
the
won't
two
remember
guys.
that. So yeah. So anyway, they're chasing the bus in their van.
Yes,
And Kim and Davy come up with a plan. Davy's going to get off and make a break for it, and Kim is going to go do something else. I don't remember what she was. But Davy gets the bus driver to stop, jumps off the bus, starts running, almost gets hit by the van.
So Kim's supposed to go home and get her mom and the police.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, we're in over our head now. Get your mom, call the cops. I'm gonna draw them away, and he pretends to be almost sick to the bus driver, so the bus driver just opens the opens the door, and basically a tuck and roll situation.
Yeah. Well, he jumps out and he starts running, and then you see the van pull up on the sidewalk and the grass, almost hit this kid. A grown man jump out and start chasing this kid, and the bus driver could not care less.
He just
nor
drives off.
nor the 20 people on the bus.
I mean, maybe they were concerned, but the bus driver's like, no one gets off. Because he did
Someone
not want to
chased-
let the kid off either.
No, he didn't. But at this point, it's like, oh my gosh, someone's chasing that kid, and everyone else on the bus is like, yeah,
It's the 80s. It
yeah,
happened.
I don't think he can outrun him. Lucky the kid didn't get hit.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. So they're running through. Oh yeah, so Davy's on the run, and he meets either they're a really mean couple or they're both drunk.
Yes.
They heckle the kid.
Yeah, because he crawls under the table while they're eating.
Right. And they're like, the lady's like, "What's up, kid?"
I'm
And he
hiding from
tells
someone
her,
who's trying to kill me.
and he's like, "Call the FBI." And the guy picks up the salt shaker, and he's like, give me Hoover." And his wife's like, "Hoover's dead." And like, "Oh, they got Hoover. It's all over. Now leave, kid."
To be fair, they think he's playing, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess they don't know what we know.
right, we don't know that he's actually being chased by some hardened criminals. We just, you're sitting down having a nice breakfast lunch thing with your wife, or and a kid crawls under your table and starts hiding and says that there's spies after him. Like, play with
Yeah,
him
I
a little bit.
I'm not sure I'd believe him either.
Exactly. Like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Hoover's
no.
dead. You got me to run.
I guess they are playing back with him, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they might be a
That
little drunk too, but mimosas in
having
the morning.
mimosas. Yeah. But I was like, either they're mean or they're drunk. And no, like, no, they're playing with them. Of course they are.
Yeah,
Did not dawn on me that they're like joking around and playing with him. So he runs.
yeah. He's like, if they're not gonna help me, I gotta do it on my own.
Then he sees the boat cruise,
hmm
the boat ride.
And Jack Flack shows up again.
Yes.
And tells him, gives him a good piece of advice that they're not gonna shoot him with all these people around, and is actually the more people the better. And that's when he sees the boat ride and like, aha,
Yes. So he gets a ticket and he gets in line for the bus. It's a
boat,
boat, not a bus.
a water bus.
Water, yeah, getting on that water bus. And he makes it on, and the bad guys are close behind, but they are, alas, 2 people too late because they're blocked from getting on the boat.
Yep, they gotta wait for the
And
next one.
until the lady forgets her wallet, and she and her husband get off. Random couple.
Yep, just bad luck on Davy's part.
Yep. And so they're playing cat and mouse around the boat. Davy keeps moving. Alonzo Alvarez keeps moving so he can get close to the kid.
Keeps getting told to sit down.
He keeps getting told to sit down. And but before he splits up from Haverman, he tells Haverman to create a diversion once he gets close to the kid, so that he can stab the kid and push him in the water. I guess is his plan.
Yeah, he shows that he's got a little knife popping out of his sleeve.
Yeah, which is horrifying. But then there's a nice elderly couple that notices what's going on and pulls the kid over
Yes.
and essentially rescues him, kind of, because then Haverman is like, "Fire at the engine," and everyone panics. Even the elderly couple that was supposed to be looking out for Davy, they just leave him.
They just leave. And the first time watching this, I'm like, those two feel weird, like they know something, or they're just good people, or I don't know. They seemed a little off to me.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna come back because I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, the lady knows what's up." Like I thought they were.
Well, and then so she's like, "Tell us what's going on." Like, that man's trying to kill me, and he's like, "I bet he's a pervert."
Yeah.
What? But yeah,
know.
they kind of pull him into a hug and keep him between them.
Right.
But whether they believed him or not, they definitely didn't want anything to happen to him. But yeah, the Haverman yells fire, and everybody starts panicking. And
Right. And while this all is going on, we cut back to Morris, who achieves the high score, unlocks the encrypted information, that
Yep.
is national security plans for weapons and whatnot.
yeah,
All kinds of.
stealth jet, and
And at that point, Rice comes in and shoots him.
yeah, well, shoots the TV, the screen that you see that
Right.
get,
Yeah. Yeah. Shoots that.
shoots, and that gets broken.
Right. And then Davy sees an opportunity to jump off of his boat onto a paddle boat and onto dry land and run.
Yeah, and he
Leaving-
squirrels. He totally squirrels it. He runs across the pathway, up a little brick wall, and it's gone.
Right. And then Haverman and Alvarez
Yep.
are trying to follow, and Alvarez gets yelled at again to sit down.
Yeah, they're just standing on the boat, like, well, shoot.
Yeah. And then even another passenger yells at him to sit down and stop rocking the boat.
hmm
People are fed up with them. So Davy meets Kim at Morris's place. Kim is distraught because she believes that Morris has been kidnapped. Actually, she thinks Morris has been killed.
Yeah, because he sees the bullet hole in the screen.
Yeah, and Davy's like, "No, Morris is too smart for that." And they come up with their game plan, where I don't exactly know what their game plan is. Davy's gonna go back to Big Tech building
Yeah, and
see what he can find there.
yeah, and then Kim's still supposed to meet with no, this is when Kim's supposed to meet with her mom and call the police.
Right,
Because before she was supposed to meet Morris.
right. That was it.
From the bus to Morris, and then this is now, since Morris is gone and they don't know where he's at, she's gonna supposed to get hold of her mom and call the police.
Right. And then we cut to one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie of Davy trying to cross the street or waiting to cross the street, waiting for the light to turn. And Jack Black shows up and he's like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you waiting for the cars? If you just keep moving, they won't hit you. And Davy's like, solid logic to me. And so he bolts out across the busy road.
Says the imaginary friend that can't get hit with a car.
Right? Okay, so Davy is in the parking garage of the tall building.
Yes.
He went back there to go and see what he could uncover about Rice,
Yes.
while Kim went home to get her mom and the police.
Correct.
And Davy spots Rice's car, pops the trunk, and discovers what's left of Morris.
Yes, we find out that Morris is indeed dead. He got shot.
And yeah, Davy
That
is
was a
not
bummer.
thrilled. It was, because I liked Morris.
I did
And
too. It was like, oh, I thought
they didn't have-
maybe he would be okay. It didn't look like he was going to be okay after the scene with Rice.
Right. Well, I thought he shot the screen and then they kidnapped Morris as like a bargaining chip.
But I mean, you think about it with these guys. No, there's no reason for them to kidnap Morris. Just kill him and get him out of the way.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're trying to hunt these two kids down to kill them.
Yeah. But and Jack Flack's the one that helps Davy realize to pop the trunk to look for stuff, and then
Yes, Jack Flack, his imaginary friend Jack Flack is giving him all his spy information, kind of telling him which way to go, what to do.
right. And then Rice is coming, so he hops in the trunk with Morris, and it's
This movie went darker than I thought.
me too. I'm like, this is a TV movie, and Rick is like, for the third time, no.
No, I watched
was-
it off the TV.
It was on TV when my dad recorded it.
Like the Winnie the Pooh movie and Pete's Dragon with us growing up that got recorded off TV and
Right. Yeah, same concept.
yes, they're not made for TV movies, but
No, not sure why I kept going there. But I digress. Jack Flack instructs Davy to don't close the trunk, just hold it close to closed so you can get out when you need to.
yes,
Smart.
yes, smart.
And so they go to I guess back to the river area, or no, they go to the Alamo. Duh.
Yes.
And Davey overhears Rice talking to Haverman that he is going to make the drop. He doesn't know who these people are, except he heard that one of them is missing a couple fingers on their hand.
Yes.
Kind of like, what other movie was that where the person was missing fingers?
I mean, there was the six-fingered man from
Princess Bride. That might be what
Princess
I'm
Bride.
thinking of.
I can't think of another movie where somebody's missing fingers, though.
That might be what I'm conflating. Anyway,
I mean, there's the one-armed man too from
The Fugitive, right?
yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
So Rice goes to make the drop. Haverman gets back in the car, listens to the radio. That's when Davy makes a break for it and opens the trunk and leaves. And Haverman notices and gets out and closes the trunk and is like, "Oh, did anybody notice the dead body just chilling in the back of my trunk?"
yeah, he's like, that was suspicious. He looks around, he's like, well, that's not good, and he sees a horse.
The horse is looking at him like he knows something.
Yeah, the horse knows something, but he's
the horse,
not telling
the horse
anybody.
thought, no, they rarely do.
Unless your name is Mr. Ed, because a horse is a horse, of course, of course.
No one can talk to a horse, of course.
That is, unless, of course, the horse is the famous Mr. Ed.
Yeah, we had to, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We always do.
Shout out to Alan Young,
That's more than I knew.
voice of Scrooge McDuck.
So Davy gets to the Alamo
Anyway,
right as it's about to close.
yeah, he gets in there. He sees the old couple from the boat, and then the people at the Alamo are like, "We're closing in 2 minutes," and start flicking the lights.
I like that he's flicking the lights on and
I
off too.
I know.
And so Rice drops the bag, and Davy makes a break for it. Davy grabs it and run,
hmm
and well, the people at the Alamo chase him down and catch him real quick.
Yeah, yeah, because they hit that 2-minute mark, and the guys at the desk like, okay, get sorry, sorry. The guy at the desk like, get out, everybody. No, we're closing. You can't stay here. Sorry, he's just very upfront about it.
He was. It's 2 minutes. All right, everybody gotta go.
Yeah, get out. Uh,
And
so
then
that's
they,
when Davy makes his move for the bag.
yep. And then they catch him and they accuse him of stealing. And George, the old man,
Yeah,
comes in and
so
he,
it's not even Rice that accuses him of stealing or anybody. It's the Alamo people. Like that kid grabbed that bag off the ground.
yeah, he's obviously stealing it.
Yeah, it wasn't his. He wasn't grabbing it to get out of here.
No, it belonged to that other guy that walked off without it. and
But
then
yes,
and then
George the old man.
comes over and he goes, "No, it was a mistake. I sent him in there to grab mine, and he grabbed that one by mistake." And then they're like, "Oh, sir, is this your bag?" And
To
Rice is like,
Rice.
"Yeah." And Rice is like, "Yeah, it is." And George tells his wife to take Davy to the car, and he would handle the situation and smooth everything over, and he'd be right there. And so she does.
Yep. And Davy's like, you don't understand.
Yeah, Davy's like, "You guys have no idea what's going on." And she's like, "Oh, don't worry. George is good at these kinds of things.
Yep.
And he always does everything just the right way." And so George gets back with the bag, hands the bag to Davy, drives off, and they reveal that George is smarter than he looks. Sacrificed his nice camera to get that other bag from the guy because it's important, and doesn't know exactly what's so important about this Cloak and Dagger game.
Yep.
But Davy is very relieved to find that the game is back in his possession. And at this point, I thought that they were former CIA secret agents or spies
Yes,
that
I
that
did
had
too.
caught wind of everything and were like helping out or sent to help out from the good guys. And
Yes.
then that miserable old lady takes off her glove and reveals that she has 3 fingers on one hand, and they are in fact the bad guys.
Yes, she's the three-fingered woman. The reason he's so good at getting things done is because, well, he's a spy, and
A hardened criminal.
yeah. Fun fact:
Yes.
these two were married in real life for 56 years.
Really?
Yes,
Is she really missing the 2 fingers?
that I don't know.
I don't think she is, because if you look at her with the glove on, she seems to have all 5
Yeah, I think
on
that
both
was
hands.
just a editing trick. But yeah, they were married for 56 years, up until the George or the man's death in 91.
Oh.
John McIntyre and Janet Nolan.
And then the scene gets real scary because she's doing something, and then she
Yeah,
puts chloroform on a thing, and I love it that it's a POV shot. I think that was great. That
yeah,
she's still just this sweet old lady until the very second where she tries to suffocate him with chloroform.
yeah. It is. This movie went. This movie is not what I thought it was going to be. It's
Me
definitely
either.
darker than I thought it was going to be.
Oh
You,
yeah,
you you sold it as a kid and his imaginary friend trying to solve a crime. Like, okay, that's
that's all I knew. That's how it was introduced to me. We
and
went in
that
this movie with the same thing, except I thought it was a made-for-TV movie for some reason.
that.
It stopped reading like that about the time they dangled the little girl over the cliff.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
Yeah. That's when it kind of stopped being it. Once the dad's acting was out of the picture, and and that whole weird scene in the beginning of like the weird like introduction to the family dynamic.
yeah.
But so yeah, Davy wakes up in the back of the trunk again.
Yeah, and I mean they're in that little exchange too. They're talking about how they don't like Rice or his two henchmen's motives and stuff.
And just the way
That
they
they're
do
sloppy.
business,
And, yeah, they don't like the
which
way they do business. They're
which
sloppy.
they are very sloppy.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, Davy wakes up in the trunk with Morris's body again.
Oh yeah, and then they're also I feel we glossed over the fact that they mentioned that they are now that they have the game, they're going to be leaving for Mexico City, and they're taking the red eye at midnight.
Yes.
And now
Important
Davy wakes.
information for Davy to know,
Yes.
and
And
for us
so,
to know.
yeah, Davy wakes up. The bad guys leave for money because Rice is counting the money, and Alvarez and Haverman think he's taken too long to divide the money up, and they should get more because they have to kill children.
Yeah. They don't seem to have a problem killing children until money's involved. Like, we have to kill the kid. Yeah, we do have to kill the kid. Let's get more money.
Yeah, and so they're
I am
gonna go check.
I am
Morally opposed.
morally opposed to this unless I get more money.
Pretty much is the gist of it. They're like, well, let's go help him count because the kid's still out cold. So
Yeah.
let's just leave the keys in the car. And then somehow,
That was Haverman. That was
That was
Haverman.
Haverman.
Left. Yep.
Yep. Somehow Davy is strong enough to kick the back seat out.
So I mean, they've got little latches on the inside. I didn't think they had them in the 80s as much, but maybe that's where I mean, if you're loading stuff in your trunk, you pull the thing, the seat leans forward. I don't know the exact make and model of that car to look up, but
It didn't look like it because you had the yellow foam coming out, and it looked like it was
maybe
busted off. Anyway, he yeah he
him and Jack Flat crawl out of the back.
him and Jack Flat crawl out of the back, and the bad guys, all three of them, come back, and he's hiding in the front seat. And finally, he realizes he's caught, so he fires it up and doesn't know how to drive, but somehow limps home. This part, it hurts me every time when
And so they open the trunk too, and they see the kid's gone. So they're like, "We got to find the kid," and they don't
Yeah.
bother to look in the car.
right. Well, they assume he ran.
Right. Because why would you not think he ran? Why would he still
Right.
be in the car?
Yeah. So then he fires it up, and then he slams on the gas, and he's like, "I don't know what to do," and he's holding on the gas, and then pops it in reverse, and you're just like, "Oh, that's so bad." And he's hitting. I mean, I love it. He's hitting everything.
He's hitting
And he doesn't-
cars, he's hitting columns, and Jack Black's like, "That's not bad for a first try."
Yeah. But what gets me is he keeps like sliding down to hit the gas and driving blind, and I'm like, tuck your foot under your butt and like prop yourself up on your knee so you can see on the front of the seat and steer and gas at the same time. And he never does it. You get a hysterical scene of him getting out of the parking garage while being chased. They're gonna shoot the car, and Rice is like, "Don't shoot my car!" And then you see it scrape all along a column and it hit two other cars, and Rice is just like, "Fine,
Just kill the
Haverman, go
kid.
get the van." It's just like at this point,
Yeah.
but he makes a
But-
break for it. He gets out.
Yeah, he gets out of the parking garage, swerves a bit more, that drives
Crashes
into a
it.
construction site.
Yeah, and then he calls Kim from the payphone.
No, there's a phone inside the car.
That's right, inside the car, right? 'Cause
Yep.
he has to warn her, and we missed that the bad guys had put C4 in her walkie-talkie to go off at midnight.
Yes, because that's one thing they were talking about when they were looking for the keys to get the to get the
Yeah.
trunk open to take care of the kid. That there's enough C4 and explosives to blow up that whole block, basically.
At least a few houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kim doesn't answer, so Davy's like, "I'm gonna call my dad." Finally, at 11
Yeah.
o'clock at night, and then, but
yeah, it's 11 o'clock at night at this point, and his dad's still at
work.
work.
We never mentioned that he's in the Air Force. He's a master sergeant in the Air Force and a
We
pilot.
did not, but Davy is on the run now.
Right, because the bad guys are. Jack Fleck lets him know the bad guys are coming, and so he runs to a payphone, a phone booth.
He at this point he actually got a hold of Kim.
Right, and tells her to go to the airport.
Yeah, tells her to meet at the airport.
Right, and then he runs.
He runs. He's on a payphone calling his dad at this point because he had to get away from the car with Morris's body in it.
Right, Morris's body isn't still in there. Oh yeah, it is.
It's still in the trunk.
Yeesh. Anyway, so he calls his dad. His dad answers. He tells him what's going on. His dad has absolutely no time for this, no belief in him whatsoever, until Haberman takes out the phone booth with the van and a jewelry store. He takes out a jewelry store after he takes out he just goes.
Yeah. Davy runs. He goes through the phone booth. The dad can hear the crash on the other side.
Yeah, here's a car coming in to take out the phone booth, and the dad's like, "Oh no, there's something wrong here."
He's like, "Oh shoot, he was telling the truth, or at least something's going on. I gotta go." And he
There's
takes
enough
off.
truth. There's enough truth happening here that I gotta act. And yes, so the dad takes off.
And Haverman goes through the windshield of the van into the jewelry store and
Probably doesn't make it.
probably doesn't make it, or at least he's not doing anything else for a while.
Yeah, but then we cut back down to the Riverwalk where he was earlier that day,
Hmm.
and the bad guys show up. Well, Alvarez and Rice has a ridiculously large semi-automatic weapon.
Yes, with a big old silencer on it.
Yes, I
And
don't
Alvarez
think
has a silence pistol.
yes, and I don't think that silencers work in real life the way they do in movies.
They do not.
And then Davy's running and he falls.
Yeah.
I don't know
He
why.
grabs his knee and
Yeah. Oh, for those of you that watch Family Guy or watched Family Guy
I was
when it
gonna say,
first
there's
came
two
out,
of you that know that joke that listen to this podcast.
that first knee scraping joke from Peter, that's what we're referencing right now. But he's talking to Jack Flack, and Jack Flack is like Crossfire Gambit, which awesome move.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're
Super
remembering
risky.
something super risky. They're remembering something from the game, but yeah, Crossfire Gambit is
And
what
so
they go with.
what that is since it's dark and that they've split up, Davy's gonna hide in the tunnel, and whilst one guy passes, after the one guy gets past him, he's going to jump out, get the attention of Rice with the big old gun, and then run right towards Alvarez and past him, and hopefully taking out Alvarez in the crossfire, which is exactly what happens. Rice shoots Alvarez.
Yeah. And there's a second where you think Alvarez might see him in the shadows, but he sees a rat come out and Alvarez shoots the rat.
You show what a great shot he is.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
Alvarez goes past. Davey jumps out and says, "Hey, you can't hit me!" and just
It's like
runs at
somewhat
Alvarez.
like Wash and Firefly. Anyway, yeah, hiding in his bright red coat.
Yeah, bright red coat. But yeah, Alvarez gets taken out pretty
badly. I mean, he's
yeah,
and
Rice
it's
Rice
yeah.
doesn't even seem to care. He's like, like, oh well, Alvarez is gone.
Well, too bad. I'll still get the kid. And then Jack Flack convinces Davy to pick up the gun.
Yeah, he's like, they're gonna shoot you. Get that gun.
Get the gun and run this way. And then Davy promptly runs the opposite direction. And Jack's like, huh? No, not that way. That's a dead end.
Yeah.
And then, so Davy's cornered. Rice shows up, and we see just how psychotic Rice really is.
Yeah.
Davy's pointing the gun at him. He's like, stop or I'll shoot. And he goes, oh, you're going to shoot fake blood or ink in my eyes again. He's like, no, I'll really shoot you. It's the real gun. And Rice is like, so is this one. And I want to shoot you, but I'm gonna shoot out both your kneecaps, and then I'm gonna shoot you in the stomach and watch you die slowly. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, Rice is a bad man.
Yeah. And then Jack starts creating a diversion or something. And
I
don't know what
I
he's doing.
I don't know if he got freaked out from Davy keep looking over, or if Jack became slightly visible and he saw the silhouette or something. But Rice turns and shoots where Jack's standing.
Right, yeah, because I think it just freaks him out because he looks over there and he yells Jack.
Yeah.
And so I think Rice just follows where he's looking roughly and just opens fire.
Yeah. I mean, Davian says, did he actually see you?
Right. But I think it's the fact that he yelled a name.
Yeah. And looked over and
kept looking over that Rice thought there was actually someone there. But then Davy shoots, one shot kill.
Yeah.
Nice shooting, kid.
Yeah. Nice shooting, kid.
But then Davy's real mad at Jack after that.
Yeah, and Rice's body falls back into the water and just kind of starts floating away.
Yeah, and then Jack and Davy tells Jack he doesn't want to play anymore, and we have that the symbolic moment of where Davy has lost his innocence and is growing up now.
Yeah, and this is it was interesting because Jack's like, "Dang, your dad said the same thing at one point."
Right.
And Davey's like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, well, the cops and robbers and all the games we used to play." It's like, "Is this an imaginary friend that just keeps?" He's like, "I hate having to leave when y'all grow up."
Yeah, well, I hate the rule that that you can't see me when they stop believing or something like that. I stop appearing when
Yeah,
they stop believing. And Rachel bought the same thing. She goes, well, like he's the same one that his dad played with, and I was
yeah,
like, yeah, he is. Generational thing. When Davey has
yeah,
a kid, he'll be back as the next imaginary
yeah.
friend.
And then you get a Bing Bong moment, and you're like, "Oh."
Right? Yeah, you get to see just the depth of of this friendship and the thing, and it's actually kind of a touching, heartwarming, heart-wrenching scene.
Yeah, I mean, he's had the little Jack figure he throws on the ground, stomps. It's like, "I don't want to play anymore. This is too much." Um,
And
he's
then
he starts losing his innocence, and Jack starts fading, and
and he tries to take it back because the Jack starts bleeding too, so it's like a
right,
death scene. And he's like, "Oh, I guess the hat doesn't stop real bullets." And
yeah,
um, the uh, Davey's trying to back out of growing up, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And Jack's like, "Hey, kid, why don't you go get me a smoke?" And
yeah.
that's
You
when
you
he
you've been my favorite playmate.
yeah. And then Jack disappears, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm sitting there like, "Oh."
It kind of got me. I'm like, "Oh, dude, what?
I
All
did not
right.
expect that from this
Good.
movie.
Nope, no, that was a surprise." And then, yeah, and as Davy's leaving to go to the airport, he gets one last
J-
message from Jack.
Jack faded away to go hang out with Bing Bong and Kusi
No, stop doing that. Not with the childhood. But it did make me think of the song "Puff the Magic Dragon" by Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Mm-hmm. Puff's there too, hanging out with Jack.
Yeah, that song. Oh, that song is a gut punch when you actually listen to the
When you
lyrics.
listen to
And
the growing up, you're like, Puff the Magic Dragon, yay! Now
yay!
you're like listening to the lyrics, like, oh God, no!
No, I did the same thing with my childhood. Yeah, it hits you different. I tell
Yeah,
you what.
listen to House at Pooh Corner.
No, no, I did not want to spend this much time on all the sadness. Moving on.
Moving right along.
We're off. Kim's at the airport. 15 minutes till the
Yeah,
bomb goes off.
yeah.
Uh,
Kim at 11:45 at night makes it to the airport.
and no one bats an eye that an 8-year-old girl is by herself at the airport at 11:45 at night.
I mean, they do because she gets picked up by the security.
That's only because she's what is she? She's talking about how there's a a a, a couple with she tells them that there's
I
spies.
know.
It's a threat of national security. Anyway, we go to Kim's house and he's not Jack. Hal. Hal is the
Hal, the
dad's name.
dad. Yeah.
Meets Kim's mom. Didn't get a name. And
Yeah,
they're
didn't get a
talking
name either.
about yeah. And the dad calls the cops, and turns out the cops are looking for him because there's two dead people down at the Riverwalk, and they were shooting at a kid, um, Davy's age.
And they just think it might be Davy.
And then for some reason he goes to the airport.
Yeah, he calls the detective that was with
Yeah,
the mustache from the earlier that brought Davy home.
right. And then he says to meet him at the airport because they have something
Yeah, meet him
going
at
on.
the airport.
Yeah, I guess.
There was a note that Kim left for her mom, said call the police, go to the airport.
Right, right. That's why I forgot about that. Yes, yes. So not super familiar with the movie, so we're gonna miss some stuff. But anywho,
That's why you take
so
notes.
I got him. You didn't.
You don't know. You don't
Did
know
you take
what I
notes?
got. No.
So we cut to Davey trying to get to the airport. The guy on the bus will not give him a ride, and so he moseys along and he asks, and then so he goes to a cab driver, played by the
Is
late
that
and
Louis
great
Anderson?
Louis Anderson. Yes, in his second movie appearance on this podcast. Second, you ask. What movie was he in before, you ask? I'm
Did
glad
we
you
call him?
asked. We did not. We missed his first one, which I don't know how, because duh, that was him. He was the flower delivery man in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. When the nurse comes to the door, he is standing on the right.
Yes. Yes, he is. Yeah, how did we miss that?
But this is Louis Anderson's first film credit, and he sounds nothing like Louis Anderson.
He does not. I was like, okay, I need to wait for this guy to talk because that looks exactly like Louis Anderson. Like, it doesn't sound like a Louis Anderson. I
And
should
he's
look that
not.
up. And I didn't look it up.
I did.
Good.
That's how I found the Ferris Bueller.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so Louis Anderson sends him along, and then he goes to the next cabbie and is like, "Hey, can you give me a ride to the airport?" And the dude's like, "Yeah, I'm going home anyway. Hop in, kid."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
It says I'm going to the airport anyway. Hop on in.
right,
Because he says if I don't get to the airport, a girl's gonna die. He's like, okay, you're being dramatic, but get in.
yeah. I don't know if he believes the kid's story or if he's just it's the most interesting thing that's happened to him that night. But yeah, so they take off.
Randall's
Now
like,
we
can you speed it up? And he's like, okay.
yes, sir, boss. He calls him boss and just and
Yeah.
floors it. You're like, okay.
Yeah. You see him, sir.
But we cut back to Kim.
'Cause
She's running.
we're playing with a 15-minute window here. And he's
Right.
like, how long do we get to the airport? I don't know. This traffic at this
And
time of night, 10 minutes. It's like, oh, that's so
that's kind of
close.
close. And Kim's in. She's at the airport. She's talking to all the security officers. She's got a bomb that could take out half a city block.
Right. She's got a bomb in her backpack. That's just slowly counting down.
Yeah,
And,
and
sh-
nobody,
and she's trying to
nobody but Davey knows about.
right. She's trying to tell the security guards that there's the spy couple with security secrets and there's missing fingers and
Yeah.
oh
And then we see the bad guys. We see the elderly couple going through airport security. Kim's in with the cops, and she's trying to leave, but they're like, "Oh, we just got a couple more questions for you." Davey gets there, and he's like, "Hey, let me figure out a way to pay you." And it's like, "You don't have time." And then the guy's like, "Don't worry about it, kid. Just go."
yeah. And then he turns on his cab light, so he's waiting for people to get off the planes and things like that. So he's
Oh,
where he needs to be. So
he was heading there anyway to collect
yeah,
to get passengers, so no problem giving the kid a ride.
exactly.
So Davey spots the bad guys and yells, "Mom, Dad, don't leave me!" Which
Yeah,
prompts
yeah.
the security guard because he runs through the security gate and the guy's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" And he goes, "Ah, Mom and Dad, don't leave me!" Which prompts the security guy to be like, "What's going on here? Is this your kid?" And they're like, "Dude, really?"
do we look like we'd have a kid
That age?
his age?
Do we look like we could possibly have a 10-year-old?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Davey's quick thinking, he's like, "I'll prove it. They got a Cloak and Dagger cartridge," he says,
Yep.
"in the camera bag." And the guy's like, "Sir, let me check your bag."
He's like, well, we
And
got a plane to catch. Like, it'll wait. Let me see.
no, wait, let's just get this cleared up. And you see him eyeballing the gun. Kim shows up in the distraction. George grabs the gun. Davey grabs the walkie-talkie from Kim.
Yep.
And then George grabs Davy shortly after, and they make a break for the plane. Some random airport worker hears a commotion and goes, "Hey, what's going on here?" And George just shoots him in the leg. Which I'm laughing now, but at the time I felt really bad for the guy.
Yeah. I mean,
This guy's
we-
done nothing except make sure everyone's okay. Like, hey, is there something I can do here? And point blank, boom, right in the leg. And he's down.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
horrible.
At the time watching it, I mean, this movie it pulled me in. I'm like, what's gonna happen next? I'm like, oh gosh, they shot the guy.
For no reason.
He's proven a point.
little jumpy, that George.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so, yeah, innocent worker. And then Dad arrives, still thinking Davy's dead because the cop meets him there because that's where everyone told him to meet because of the note from Kim.
Right. Right. And they say that they're still haven't found any bodies at the river
Right.
other
They
than
got-
rice.
right. They're gonna have divers going in the morning or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
or they'll have divers going in soon. And then he hands the Jack Black little figurine to Hal and
The
says,
dad's like, does
"Did
this mean
did,
anything to you?
did this belong to him or anything?" And the dad's like, "Oh, it is." And so he's like, "Oh, Davy's dead." And then Kim's there, and Kim's like, "Hi." they got Davy, and Davy's alive. So
and then there's a train of like 8 people running through security. the cop, the dad, the mom, Kim, and everybody else.
and the nice touch is the metal detector goes off for everyone who has a gun. Beep, beep, beep. And then the lady's just like smiling, watching them all go by.
Yep.
But
One person flashed the badge and they're all going.
pretty much to the point, even Kim's mom runs through and no one questions it.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me,
Like, well, I'm
ma'am,
gonna
you're
make
not
my play. You just start following people.
I was late anyway. But so Hal, dad, essentially strong arms his way to pilot the plane because his son is on board and he's going after him. Dadgummit.
Yep. George is demanding a pilot to take them to Mexico. He's just going to be basically trying to hijack the plane, and Hal, he's wearing his uniform still. It looks kind of like a pilot's uniform, and he grabs a hat. And he's like, I know enough to start trawling us around because he's in the
Yeah.
Air Force. He moves planes from here to there, so he's like, I know a
Well,
little
he knows.
bit, but
I thought he knew how to fly.
I thought he said he didn't know how to fly.
I digress. I don't know. I
But
don't remember. He's gonna go pretend to pilot this thing.
Yeah.
Davy's in the back trying to defuse the bomb. George and Lady
Yeah.
are arguing. He pulls the thing out, and it's like nothing happens. But he goes, "Huh." Just like out of ideas.
He's like, "Come on, Jack, help me. Give me an idea. What do I do?" He pulls a little thing out of the thing, and it pauses for a second. You're like, "Oh, maybe he did it." Nope, it's still counting.
And then George and the lady are like they're arguing back and forth. The dad comes in to pilot and everything's going on, and Davy's like, "I have a bomb," and they're not listening to him whatsoever.
No one's listening to him. He's like, "Come on, I don't care what happens right now. We're about to blow up in 2 minutes."
We got 3 minutes left. Like cutting it pretty close here, and so yeah, Davy's dad sits in the pilot seat and starts getting the plane ready for takeoff.
Yep.
And wants to check on the kid, so they let him check on the kid.
Yep. He's calling the tower, but he's using the CB, so he's talking to the cabin too.
Right. And then he finally goes, and then he calls himself Jack Flack.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's that whole like, yeah, I don't know, that moment where the dad's like, "I believe you, like we're in this together, we're on a mission," like trying to relate to him or reach out to him or something like that, some kind of connect.
Right. And the old lady has now gone back to check on the on him and sees the bomb.
And then he kind of like hands it to her and then runs up to the cab, and then George comes back and she's like, "George,
she
there's
starts
a bomb."
yelling. She starts yelling for George.
George comes back, and then they have it, and she's like, "Do something," and he's like, "Huh." So he pulls out the other wire, and it pauses for a second, and then starts up, and he's like, "Well, I don't know."
And at this point, too, Hal is moving the plane down the runway.
Well, yeah, and then Hal's locked him and Davy in the cockpit, and
Yeah.
they're taxiing down the runway, and then he throws his son out of a moving plane.
Yeah, he opens the window and starts lowering him out. And he's like, "Dad, don't leave me." It's like, just tuck and roll and run.
Run away from the plane. So he drops him, and he runs and starts chasing the plane, and it's just like there's like 10 seconds left, and like 30 seconds of plane still going before the thing blows
You're just
up.
watching that plane, like, what's gonna happen?
Then the plane explodes.
Yeah.
And you see a silhouette of Jack Flack at first coming through the
Mhm.
flames, and it slowly morphs into his dad.
Yeah.
And then you get a very touching ending where Davy and his dad hug, and he tells his dad that he doesn't need Jack Flack because he has his dad.
Yeah.
And then we get a freeze frame, and we roll credits, and we don't find out what happens to Kim or or the dad and Kim's mother. It's just
Right.
that's it.
We get the family's gonna be okay.
Yep. No more therapist.
No, they need therapists.
Oh yeah, very very much now at this point. For sure.
Davy shot someone.
Davy killed 2 people. He shot one of them, and put the other one in a position to get shot. Plus, he also got shot at, kidnapped, chloroformed, and climbed and sat in a trunk with his dead friend Morris.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the whole bomb situation on the plane too.
And being thrown out of a moving plane. Not to mention the
Right.
bad guys breaking into his house at first.
Yeah.
Yep, that therapy bill's going up.
So so you so you picked two spy movies in a row that both ended up with uh aircraft being blown up with the bad guys in them.
Yeah, yeah.
When he grabbed the walkie-talkie, I'm like, is this gonna be like the man who knew too little end?
Apparently.
Except it wasn't as it wasn't as comedic.
It was not as comedic.
No, you're like, did they just kill his dad? Is he an orphan now?
He's gonna go live with Kim. That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
I mean, eventually, I'm sure that's gonna happen anyway, but
Sure. In a better situation now.
yes.
But now that we have gotten through the movie that was Cloak and Dagger, Marshall,
Yes.
would you like to give us your final thoughts on this film?
I would like to give you my final thoughts.
I would love to hear them.
I had a lot of fun with this movie. I really liked it, and had I watched it in the '80s, it would have been it would have been one of my movies that I watched growing up with Flight of the Navigator, Never Ending Story. This would have been right there with it.
Fun fact,
Yes,
this movie was released with Flight of the Navigator in its initial
like the
release.
same day.
Yes, with it. Back to back with it in England.
Really, as
In
a
the
as
UK.
a double feature, you would
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But the fact that you mentioned Flight of the Navigator, I was like, oh yes, I remembered that. That's why I was waving my hand around. Anyway,
Very
continue.
cool. Also, something I forgot to mention when I was talking about the couple that was married, the old couple, they were both in the original Psycho together as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe that's where they met.
Nice.
But yeah, so they this is not their first movie they did together. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I went in with low expectations.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I had
Me
no
too.
idea what I had no idea what I was getting into. It was like imaginary friend, and it's like okay, it sounds like an '80s movie. It sounds like something to be fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I watched it like 3 times, and it was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. It hit me in the feels a few times. It made me wonder what was going to happen. It was a fun time.
All right.
What about you?
So, I went into this open-minded, not sure what to expect. And then like I said, when it first started off, I kept thinking made for TV moving, and the acting in the beginning was kind of like eh. And so I was kind of like at first I was like, I don't know, cuz I wasn't sure what it was or where it was going, so it was a little
Yeah,
bit like I was kind of a little bit meh about it at first, and then once we got into it,
yeah,
it took off. It took the inner child in me, and it took my imagination, and it ran. And the second time I watched it, I absolutely loved it from start to finish. I would say Rachel hit a home run with this recommendation.
it was a really good one. I had a lot of fun with it.
Like this is a hidden gem, you might
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Absolutely. This would be a hidden gem. But when she's like, "Oh, I think you and your brother would like it," I was like, "Oh, okay, whatnot." And it turns out, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would watch this again. I will watch this again. I had a lot of fun with it.
Me too.
I
Uh,
I enjoyed the spy aspect of it, the heart with the family bits of it, the sad
yeah,
about Morris still, but
yeah.
um,
It hit the emotional side more than I thought it would too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think
I
I
mean,
have anything else to say.
yeah. No, I just to wrap up, like, yeah, it hit on it hit everything you want in a movie. It hit. It hit the fantasy. It hit the comedy. Not a lot, but there were definitely things that were funny intentionally, and I think unintentionally.
Yeah,
It you felt for the kids. You
you're
felt for
worried for the kids.
you worried for the kids. It had surprise factor. It had a twist. It had things you didn't see come. Like check off every box in a good movie, and this is it.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean the bit with the imaginary friend saying it was it's the same imaginary friend his dad had, or It's like, man, it was a different direction than I thought they were going to go with it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Great, great movie. Great choice. Great. Glad that we did this one instead of I'm glad that we had waited and Rachel changed her pick to this one instead of the previous one,
Yeah.
which I won't mention because we'll probably do it at some point.
Okay.
So that being said, it is time for Marshall to tell us what we are going to be watching next.
And I determined that now is the perfect time to do a classic '90s comedy. It's one that I'm sure has been on both of our lists, and we were just waiting for the right time to do it.
That doesn't help me.
It's a buddy comedy road trip.
Oh no.
And
It's not family friendly.
sure it is.
Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That one was not on my list. I wasn't going to do it.
Really? That's
Really?
definitely family friendly. Well, family friendly-ish. We watched it with Dad growing up. We watched it all the time.
Okay, but we
It's-
can't watch the...
No, we won't watch the extended cut. We'll watch the original theatrical release.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I mean, it's not any worse than I wouldn't say it's any worse than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay. Fair enough. I knew this was inevitable.
A classic Jim Carrey movie.
All right.
And I figure, and this is probably a good one to do Jim Carrey with.
It is. This might be a long one because I'm going to have a lot of fun facts on this one.
I've got a lot of fun facts too.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we were going to avoid this one because it's PG-13, but here we go.
We've done PG-13 movies.
I know.
We've done an R-rated movie.
But the only reason it was rated R was because Joe Pesci was in it.
Right. I mean, and this one, trying to think of what makes it PG-13. I mean, it's
I think we both know what makes it PG-13.
there's some bits in there, but we'll dance around that. But I mean, Dumb and Dumber is a classic.
It is a classic movie. It is a classic comedy. It is a
and it's something we watched a lot growing up. It's
Yes,
definitely
it
in
is.
our vein of revisiting.
It definitely is. I'm curious to see what I think of it now.
Yeah, I am too.
But
yes, definitely don't watch the extended edition.
yeah, nope. But I'll watch the regular theatrical one.
You good with this?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us as
Like you said, it was inevitable.
it was inevitable. Thank you for coming along with us as we went on an adventure with a boy and his imaginary friend. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can do so. watchitbropodcast@gmail.com. We are also on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at watchitbropod. We're on Facebook and Instagram under that same handle. Our intro and outro music is provided now by my lovely wife, that intro being Blue, that outro being Orlando. We'll see you next time as we take a look at Dumb and Dumber. And as always, thank you for watching.
You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?